So, my name is Haim. I'm from Tel Aviv. I guess you probably ask yourself, how come I'm here in Lithuania in Vilnius with you? So, well, I have origins in Lithuania, Kaunas mainly, and as part of that, I enjoy visiting Lithuania and staying in Lithuania, travel. I love your country. That's it. Okay, so uh, my presentation will be about detailed comparison between alternatives you have when coding in JavaScript. As you probably know, you can code in JavaScript, but there is also the alternative to code in another programming language and transpile the code into JavaScript. So, how many of you heard about TypeScript, for example? Wow. Okay. How many heard about CoffeeScript? Wow. Okay. Dart? Anyone? Dart? Okay. Scala.js? Scala.js? Anyone? Scala people over here? Okay. Scala.js. Few people. Okay. Few words about my background. I'm into many domains. It's not just the front end development. Front end development is just one of them. Since you already know what JavaScript is, I just want to mention that there are tons of programming languages you can use and transpile their code into JavaScript. So if you're doing Angular or any other framework and you want to write your code in another programming language, then there are lots of options to choose from. However, at least today, TypeScript is probably the more popular one. Few words about TypeScript, just for those who are not familiar with it. It's a programming language developed by Microsoft. The development is led by the same person who is the chief architect for C#. And actually, it's in addition to JavaScript that mainly its main contribution is the ability to use types, but also improvements when it comes to object-oriented. Since you are familiar with TypeScript, I won't waste too much time about it. The code is very similar to Java. If you know Java, then learning TypeScript is very simple. If you know Java or C# or PHP, object-oriented in PHP, learning TypeScript is very simple, and you will feel very comfortable with it. I think that for those who do mainly Java, then TypeScript is more comfortable than coding directly in JavaScript because the syntax is very similar. About Dart, because Dart is the other programming language we're going to compare. So you probably know the story. In the beginning, the intent was to have a Dart virtual machine in every web browser. So we will write code in Dart. However, it didn't happen, not even in Chrome. The language comes from Google. And currently, if you check today what happens with the Dart, then you can find that there are companies using Dart, not many. And they don't use the Dart virtual machine usually. They just transpile the code in Dart into JavaScript. Anyway, when it comes to Angular 2, then you probably know that Google chose to use TypeScript as the main programming language. And today we have two branches of Angular 2. One is completely written in Dart, the other is written in TypeScript, which is actually JavaScript. The code, as you can see, very similar to the alternatives. Now, a few words about CoffeeScript. I chose to mention CoffeeScript as a representative to many other programming languages we can use to write our code and transpile into JavaScript, like CoffeeScript, Scala.js, and many others. CoffeeScript is fairly simple when it comes to going over its capabilities, and we will see that in a moment. And the same as with the other programming language, just you write your code in CoffeeScript and you transpile it into JavaScript and use the JavaScript code directly. This is the code. Now let's start with the main dish of the meeting of my lecture. So what I'm going to do now is going over aspects and compare those programming languages with each other, as well as with writing the code directly in JavaScript. And when I say JavaScript, I mean JavaScript ECMScript 2015, ES6. So we have the object-oriented, etc. Now, if we try to compare those programming languages, then when it comes to using types, by the way, how many of you feel that using types is critical, is important, is very important for the success of the development of their project? Who feels that way? Okay, there is a group, a small one. I guess most of you think we can manage without it. And actually we can manage, but as you said, it's to be on the safer side. It's to be secured. I mean, using types keeps you on the safe side of the world. Anyway, comparing those programming languages, only TypeScript and Dart allows you to use types. You cannot use types in JavaScript. You cannot use types in CoffeeScript. Now, both Dart and TypeScript allows you to work in a dynamic way, meaning it's not an obligation. You can avoid using the types. You can write the code in a dynamic way, enjoying the dynamic programming characteristics without using types, if you want. Now, what about the white spaces? Well, only CoffeeScript is kind of a Python. It insists of paying attention to the spaces. When you write code in TypeScript, JavaScript, Dart, there is no meaning for the spaces. Okay, let's move forward. Okay, regarding object-oriented, then all options have capabilities. You can define classes, you can create objects. This is great. About using third-party JavaScript libraries, pay attention, you are not limited. When using TypeScript or Dart, you can easily use third-party JavaScript libraries. Now, what about an independent virtual machine? Well, only JavaScript and Dart have their own virtual machine. You can write code in Dart. You don't have to transpile it into JavaScript. You can execute that code on a Dart virtual machine. Well, usually it doesn't happen, but this option exists. So I suggest just paying attention to that option in the long run. That's all. I don't recommend buy. Go for it. Just pay attention. See what happens. When it comes to TypeScript and CoffeeScript, they don't have their own virtual machine, of course. What about Angular 2? Who use Angular 2? No one? No Angular 2 in Vilnius? I don't buy it. Angular 2? Angular 2 the second time? No one is doing Angular 2? Wow. Okay. Well, anyway. React. Oh, okay. Well, anyway, if you choose to learn Angular 2, it will be the simplest if you use TypeScript. More documentation, more code samples, a bigger community. If you want to use Angular 2 using CoffeeScript or plain JavaScript, it will be a bit more difficult. Okay. Well, the concept of defining an interface and using it, you will find it only in TypeScript. You don't have it neither in Dart nor JavaScript. Of course, you can define an abstract class, so it will be similar, but not an interface. Methods overloading, friends, only TypeScript supported. Access modifiers. You know the private access modifier, you want to keep everything secured, the black box concept. So you have it only in TypeScript. You can improvise something in JavaScript if you know the symbol type, but it's clear that using access modifiers in a clear way, it's only in a TypeScript. You also have something in Dart, but not as in TypeScript. What about overloading? Overloading only TypeScript. Abstract classes you have in TypeScript, you have in Dart, you don't have them in the other options. You can define an abstract class when coding in JavaScript. If you choose to avoid TypeScript and use ES6, for example, you can't define an abstract class. You don't have the possibility to use enum, neither. Well, about popularity, of course, JavaScript. After that, it becomes TypeScript. Well, something I tried, you know, Google Trends, something interesting. You can find that the popularity of TypeScript keeps growing during the last months. And that's it, friends. If you enjoyed the session, well, of course, you can leave something on my page in Speaker Media website. I also want to invite you. You can check this website. You can find lots of courses, online courses for free, video clips, slides, etc. So you can learn by yourself lots of stuff, not just in the front-end development world, also in PHP, Android, Java, Scala, .NET, etc. So that's it. Any questions you have, things you are interested to know? Yes, please.
Well, TypeScript is quite, well, old language, like 4 years.
It's 4 years, something like that. Is it?
I released it.
That the release is a
There
third
was
framework.
a slide that you released new versions.
Yeah, very cool, yeah. Yeah, happens with the TypeScript. You can see that with Dart. Dart, for example, hardly released new versions, but Microsoft keeps releasing new versions for TypeScript. They improve. For example, the way you use JavaScript from TypeScript is simpler today. They add more capabilities. They actually take lots of capabilities you can find in the classic OOP programming languages, Java, C#, and so on, and provide them in TypeScript. So you can use TypeScript and enjoy all of those tools, from .NET, Java, etc. To me, it seems like a direction. We're using more and more TypeScript in developing applications which are actually hybrid applications. For example, if you check Visual Studio Code, who heard about Visual Studio Code? Okay, Visual was written in TypeScript. It was written in TypeScript. It is an hybrid application using a framework. Its name is Electron, and the code was written in TypeScript. So it's kind of a direction for more and more hybrid applications using TypeScript instead of using JavaScript directly. So also an indication for the success and for the direction Microsoft goes ahead. So that part. Friends, any more questions about TypeScript, the other options? Angular 2 maybe? Okay, no Angular 2. Okay. Got it. Okay. Thank you.